you seen it? You've seen something, haven't you? No, not going to let me work. Hello, I'm Alan Parton. I'm an ex-Chief Petty Officer, WE, and I'd like to share my experience with you how RNBT helped me and my family in the aftermath of the 1991 Gulf War. I was happily married with 2 young children. I sailed from Portsmouth and sailed to the Gulf War and was involved in an incident that left me in hospital for 5 years. I suffered a head injury that left me with no memory of my wife or children. I'd lost 50% of my life history. I couldn't read, write, walk or talk, and the prognosis was that that wasn't going to improve very much at all. I spent 5 years in rehab and trying to learn to speak, and in that time, I find it very difficult to admit this, but I tried to commit suicide twice because I'd lost my past, I'd lost my future, and I had this overwhelming guilt that I'd let my Queen and country down, but most of all my fellow colleagues in the Navy. I felt, you know, coming back injured had let them all down, and I wasn't dealing with that very well. But while I was having this sort of inward implosion, my poor family was struggling to deal with it. You know, they'd lost a husband, the children had lost a dad, and, you know, we as a family were at a breaking point. And that's where the RNBT came in and helped us at the very, very beginning. I mean, we were evicted from our naval marine quarters come that time, you know, longer in the services, and we were struggling with the cost of the moves and such like, and it was the RNBT that stepped in and paid for our first move. They also came in and funded some adaptations around the house that we needed, and these were critical. These were really important things, and actually they even funded my very first power chair that gave me a quality of life which is very difficult to explain to someone who doesn't use a wheelchair. And to give you some idea of statistics, you know, to stay together as a family is so important, because out of 98 of us badly injured in the first Gulf War, only that were married, only 5 marriages survive today. And, you know, we were helped to remain together. We were given that support that was very important. And yes, it's easy to focus on the injured person, but, you know, it's also important to focus on the families and their needs, because when I came out of hospital, my family were there. You know, we were in an adapted house and we had a quality of life and a future to look forward to. And that wouldn't have been if it wasn't for the RNBT being there, looking after my family and their needs, as well as caring for me. And, you know, I'd like to remind people, when the guns go quiet on the battlefield, you know, the battle with disability, trauma and bereavement go on till you draw your very last breath. And it's the support we're given. And my wife always reminds me to look over my shoulder and remember, you know, a lot of people enabled us to be where we are today. And, you know, I would like to thank everyone in the RNBT for all their support for me and my family. And you know, we just wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for them. And on a positive, you know, 4 years ago my wife and I got remarried, and, you know, that isn't a story ending that we would have had if we hadn't had that support in those very early days. So thank you.